Flint Hills and how they are contributing to ozone levels in Midwestern cities. I'm from the biology department, so it's a little bit interesting that I'm doing this because this is really atmospheric science or some sort of other field. But I have helped from Dr. Crosby, and he's from the Department of Atmospheric Science, which really helped out. The Flint Hills are found in central eastern Kansas, and they're wonderful grassland, and ranchers typically raise a lot of cattle on them. And to do this, they typically burn lots of the grassland every year in April. And this causes new grass to grow in very quickly in April, and their young cattle feed off of it and gain a lot of weight, which is wonderful for them. However, when we look right here, we can see the Flint Hills. But then that light gray you see is the fires that, the smoke that moves across from them. And there have been complaints about the smoke from places like Nashville, Tennessee, and all across the Midwest. And it really can blow up into Lincoln and Omaha a lot. I'm personally from Lincoln, so I love it there. But then also into Kansas City quite a bit because they're very close. And that was taken from NOAA. It has a fire detection system, and then they analyze where the smoke will go. So when we're looking at ozone, a lot of people think we don't want to deplete the ozone layer. However, the ozone from these fires gets trapped in the tropospheric layer, and it turns into smog when it mixes with nitric acid and volatile organic compounds. And this causes health risks for lots of people, especially people with asthma. It can cause increased asthma attacks, and this has been reported in several articles. All right. When ozone is measured in an 8-hour time period, the highest measurement is the 8-hour max, and that's measured in parts per million. The EPA regulates ozone across the United States, and their regulations have become increasingly strict, and cities have been trying to comply over the last decade. I was able to get data from the EPA and also Omaha Air Quality, which is the same thing that they report to the EPA, which is very helpful. Now on these graphs, you can see the pink, which is Kansas City, and that data is typically higher than the blue, which is Omaha, because Kansas City is bigger than Omaha, so they produce more ozone naturally. Now what we see on these graphs is we see a nice parabolic curve of the ozone, and there's usually a peak in the summer in August or July. But as we go to the mid-2000s, this peak lowers and it becomes more linear overall. And then in the late 2000s, you can see there's almost no peak here. And the high point is much earlier. It's in the spring now. Now, this is because the cities are complying to this, but they're still not able to get that April ozone levels down. So cities have reduced their ozone levels, but not in the spring. So is it normal for ozone to be this high in the spring? And is it due to the fires? Are my two questions. Now, for ozone to form, it's necessary for there to be sunlight. The top graph you see there is the UV index from Wichita, Kansas over a year period. Now, the first graph there you see is from 2002, and you can see that the parabolic curve there follows almost exactly that UV curve. And then our lower graph is 2009. And we can see there that it doesn't follow that curve at all, and it still stays high in the spring, even though it drops down in the late summer and fall. What we would have expected to see from the cities lowering their ozone is that entire curve shifting down, instead of it just shifting down in the summer and fall. So what I also looked at from the smoke data I had is the days with smoke and the days without smoke and how that affected the ozone readings. In 2007, the results were very significant. and the amounts were very different, which means that smoke was clearly having an effect on the ozone. And then in 2008, we weren't able to tell as much of a difference. But a lot of this is due to the fact that on the fire detect system, you can't tell the density of the smoke. It's just present or not. So you can have a very small amount of smoke, but that won't affect the ozone a lot. So that made our results for 2008 insignificant, but it's still clear that smoke is probably having some effect. And that just talks about it. So my conclusion here is that the fires are likely contributing to the raised ozone levels in the spring. But to verify this, someone who is able to conduct their own smoke studies and create the smoke patterns needs to go ahead and look at the density of the smoke so that they can link that to the level of ozone that is increased during days that smoke is present in the cities. And then also it would be important to look and see if there's any other factors in the spring that could be causing such an increase. And these are some of my sources. And I'd like to thank Omaha Air Quality and Kansas City Air Quality for their help, and then the EPA for publishing all their data online, and NOAA for their smoke tracking system, and of course the honors program, which is really wonderful and a good experience. Thank you.
Would you entertain questions?
Sure.
I have one actually.
Sure.
From the Flint Hills to Kansas City, it's about from 140 miles, thereabouts. What levels do the smoke get in the atmosphere, and what elevation?
That actually would depending on just the weather pattern for the day. So I couldn't really tell you, like if there's an inversion, they would stay near ground level. But if you had a front come through, they could raise up much higher than that.
And what method would you take to measure the density of the smoke as you talked about? How would one go about that?
I actually, there's systems you can use to take the fire data, which is, the fire data is measured in infrared, and then they use the weather data to basically show where it should go. And so you could use the fire data and basically how hot the fire is to see how much is burning, to see how much smoke should be present. But that would take a modeling method, and I don't have any experience modeling, and usually atmospheric science majors do, or grad students. But it's basically looking back at that. Yes?
Is there any political force being put on that area to stop the fires?
There actually is. It's not a ton or super direct, but I read an address from the EPA director from District 7, which includes both Kansas and Nebraska and several other states. And he specifically mentioned the fires and how they had been affecting other urban areas. Any others?
How did you come up with this interesting project?
My dad works for the Lake and Lancaster Health Department, and he gave it to me as one of the things he was talking about when we were just hanging out, and I thought it was really interesting, and not a lot of research had been done on it, so I thought it